Hi YouTube. Today I'm going to show you how to grind your meat at home for fresh ground beef. And in order to have fresh ground beef for meatballs or burgers or meat pies or beef patties or any other type of ground beef dish, you want to start with a good whole muscle cut of beef. Right here you're looking at a London broil. This is a very lean cut. Over here, you're looking at a chuck roast. And the chuck roast has that marbling in it that we want to see. I'm not going to waste any of it. The fat is going to be used, the rough fat. This rough fat here and the rough fat on the outside is going to be put into a freezer bag for beef tallow, while the intramuscular fat is going to be ground up and used in my homemade ground beef. Okay, I'm going to do all of the work in my Ninja, and I have a cutting board and a sharp knife. I have 3 containers over here. The plastic bowl for what I'm going to cook today, another plastic bag for meat in the freezer. The other bag is for the beef fat, which is going to be used to make beef tallow. So I'm just going to remove the outer fat and the thick hard fat and put it in the bag for tallow. And then I'm going to cut this in 1-inch cubes. And I do want to note that this beef is semi-frozen, okay? Semi-frozen beef is what you need to make sure that your food processor doesn't get gummy when the fat starts melting. You also need to make sure your knife runs through it better. Semi-frozen beef. That's the key to making it unmushy and your knife going through it pretty easily. So let me start cutting out the fat and show you the 1-inch cubes of beef. This is an example of that type of fat you want removed. So you still have intramuscular fat, which you want to keep. You want to keep that to put in your Ninja. This piece of fat right here, you want to remove that. Okay? That goes in the pile for tallow. Another large hard piece of fat. That's tallow. Okay? The rest of this is beef ready for the Ninja. See, this type of fat is good. It's intramuscular fat. It's all throughout the beef. This connective tissue type fat, you want to get that out and put it in that tallow pile. You see? And even if you have a little bit of meat clinging to the fat for the tallow pile, that's fine because it can be all eaten later. Tallow pile. And I'm just going to finish up that steak, especially with all this big chunks of fat, which is perfectly wonderful. We just don't want it in our ground beef. We want that for our tallow. So there we have a pile of fatty connective tissue and fatty meat that's going to be frozen and saved for beef tallow. And then we have a pile of lean, mixed, whole muscle cuts of meat. Now there's still fat in this. It's just not the hard connective tissue and outer layer of the fat. And the meat is still semi-frozen, and you see it's in 1-inch chunks. Now I'm going to start to blend it in my food processor. So I'm putting my meat, semi-frozen meat, in the mixer, about a half a cup. Screw it on, pulse it. There you have fresh ground beef. Fresh ground beef. I'm going to go through this process with the whole bowl, freeze most, and use some right now. The meat has to be semi-frozen. That's how you work it. Shake it down, pulse it out. Fresh ground beef. Look how pretty that is. That's going to make delicious beef-based dishes with no mystery meats. So I'm going to finish up this process and show you what it looks like when it's all done. So there you have it. I turned those 2 whole muscle cuts of chuck and London broil into 3 amazing containers of ground beef. Fresh ground, fresh minced beef. I'm going to use this one now, and let me show you how you get these other ones ready for the freezer. You want to kind of get it nice and flat, and you want to get the air out of the bag. You don't want any extra air in the bag. Then you seal it off just like that. Then you have meat ready for the freezer, fresh ground meat. Same with this. You want to get the air out the bag. Happy cooking!